All right, now for our last video on the week, we're going to look at the nine guidelines for universal design for learning. So again, when we're looking at multiple means of engagement, we're really looking at making sure that we're integrating students' identities and their interests. We're making sure that we are supporting students in sustaining their effort and persistence, and we're making sure that we're building emotional capacity. So what I want you to do right now is to stop the video, to read over the three guidelines that are under multiple means of engagement. And then I want you to do it just do a quick write on what your impression or what your takeaways are. So go ahead, you're going to stop and write down your takeaways or your impression of the three guidelines under multiple means of engagement. And then come on back. All right, now that you've looked at the guidelines for multiple means of engagement, let's look at the guidelines for the multiple means of representation. When we're looking at multiple means of representation, we are making sure that we're taking into account that all students perceive things differently. So we are looking at making sure that we integrate and that we design our lesson plans to include those aspects of perception, that we're taking into account the variety of language needs of our students and the types of symbols that they may need, and that we're providing that kind of support. We're providing options within our instruction and our activities, and that we're also making sure that we are providing different opportunities, multiple opportunities to build students' knowledge. So again, what I want you to do right now is to stop the video, look over the guidelines and the information that's listed under each of the guidelines for multiple means of representation. Make a quick note of what your perception or your takeaways are, and then come back and join us. All right, and then our final area, our core principle for multiple means of action and expression, we're really looking at designing our instruction so that we have multiple ways in which students can interact with their learning, that we're providing multiple means of expression and ways for students to communicate, and that we're really assisting students in building strategies to help support their learning. So for the last time, go ahead and stop the video, read the information that is under each of the guidelines for multiple means of action and expression, write down your takeaways, and then come back. All right, hopefully by now you have a more clear understanding of those nine guidelines for universal design for learning. I do encourage you to go ahead and take a screenshot of this, although these are listed on Canvas under the cast graphic. It will not be the same graphic, but I would encourage you to take a screenshot because in class you are going to be able to use AI. You can use any resource that you would like. And here's what we're going to do as a group activity is that each group will be assigned one of the UDL core principles. And then what I want you to do is with your group, you are going to investigate those three guidelines under your assigned principle. And then you're going to do some kind of a short presentation, or it could be a visual. This is where we're going to use UDL. You could do a presentation, you could provide a visual, you could make some kind of a graphic, you could role play. But what we want you to do is to share with us what your UDL principle is, what it means, what those guidelines are, what each of those guidelines mean, and then give us an example of what that guideline would look like if you were to use it with students with, here it's extensive support needs, or students with complex support needs. The big deal is that everyone in the group must participate. So let me know about how long. I think your presentation can't be more than about 2 or 3 minutes. So it needs to be something really quick. But again, that depends on you and your team as to how you would like to engage in your action and expression. All right, so that is our plan for class on Monday. I want everybody to remember, though, that UDL is for everyone. When you are planning for UDL, you are doing it during the planning stage of your instruction. So you're going to design your learning so that you are including everyone from the beginning. We're not doing it individualized. So I want to make sure that you get away from accommodations and modifications, and that when you are talking about UDL, you are talking about UDL for everyone. And if I ask for examples of UDL in the future, hint, hint, you need to give me multiple examples of UDL of for example, multiple means of representation. Not only that, that flexibility is key with UDL because we have to offer multiple ways to engage, represent, and to express our learning. And so there has to be flexibility in how students do that. We want to remember that UDL empowers students because we are building things like critical thinking, problem solving, analysis. We are building their confidence. We are building their independence. We are providing them with success, that they are engaging in self-regulation. So it's really an empowering framework for students. And then I want you to finally remember that your role matters. Without you, UDL does not happen because teachers are the creators of inclusive, supportive learning environments. And you have to do this planning from the beginning. So now that you've learned about UDL, now that you have a better understanding, what I want you to do is to go back and to revise your information on the vignette about Alex now, and this will be part of your submission. I believe we'll see in the next slide when that is due. Before this submission, you are going to go back and do a revision. You're going to do an update by looking at the barriers. Do you have any new insights? But now that you have a better understanding of UDL, how can you overcome those barriers? And remember, when you're looking at those strategies for overcoming those barriers, we're not going to just put one, we're going to look at multiple. So I need to see multiple examples of how you might be able to overcome those barriers. All right. The last thing I want to do is do a quick check-in with you all. How are you feeling? As always, if you have any questions, let me know. And for the current cohort who is watching this video, these are your upcoming assignment dates. They may be different for another cohort. So again, this is only for the current cohort that I'm working with. Let me stop that.